Hey guys, I have a video that I'm making about Driverack PX, and if you don't know what it is a rack unit that for your sound system that will interface between your mixer and your powered speakers. And what it does three things that are pretty important. One, it determines how much power goes to each of your subs if you have subs, your mains, and it puts limits on those so that you don't overload them. So it prevents, damage to your powered speakers, and that's really important to protect your investment. And two, it has an EQ wizard, which will run EQ of the room that you're in. So it'll diagnose the room and run EQ and set it accordingly based on your preference. And three, it'll set feedback limiters. It has automatic feedback suppression, and that's AFS, and there's wizards for it. When I first got mine, I looked through video after video after video, and it was not easy, and it wasn't very easy to understand what people were doing. And maybe I'm just stupid, but I like to make videos whenever I realize that there's something that needs to be taught or understood, and it takes me a month to understand it, then it's not being explained well. So I've watched videos, and nothing against the other videos, but it just wasn't explained in a way that I understood easily. So I'm going to try to make this as basic as shit. Like, this will be a basic video. It's not advanced at all. I'm going to film every single step of what it takes to get one hooked up from right out of the box. I'm not going to do that. I'm assuming that you've already opened your box, put it in your rack, and put power to it, because that's what you got to do. Okay, so I hope you enjoy it. And again, I'll take you step by step to EQ. And this is my living room. I'm actually going to EQ my living room, and I'm going to set up an input from an iPad to my mixer, and I'm going to put just one mic to my mixer and just show you how that's set up, because essentially you copy that procedure per channel, and it doesn't matter if you have 20 inputs or one input. It's the same exact procedure. So here it goes. All right. So the first thing I want to show you is the basic setup. So I have here, I've got a case, a hard shell case that I bought, I think $100 eBay. This is a power conditioner. You don't have to have one. You can just plug this straight up to power, but this is I like this because it equalizes your power. So when you have power coming out of the wall or whatever your source is, this will equalize it and ensures you get 120 volts constant. So it kind of watches for surges and spikes and whatnot. It has filters in it. And it has the light. Like, if you turn it on and you pull, see, it's got that light. It lets you see this if you're in the middle of a dark show. So that's pretty cool too. So this is actually the Driverack PX, the DBX Driverack. And PX is specifically for powered speakers and subs, which I have. I have a set of Behringer 1400 watt self-powered speakers subs over here. The same thing over here next to my guitar amp. And I have these Harbinger, I believe they're 600 watt mains that are up on the posts. You don't have to have four. You can have two mains. You really need two mains. You can do the whole thing mono actually, but it works better. Why would you EQ if you only had mono, right? A lot of people run one sub and two mains, and that's acceptable too. You do it either way. So that is the rack, my power conditioner, your speakers, and you need a mixing device, and I have just a simple mixer here. This is a very, very basic mixer. I have one channel that I'm going to be using, and I have the channel set to minimal on everything. The aux, all of this is down. This is actually for monitor, and this is for special effects. And I have those down because I'm not going to factor those in on this. That's another video. And I have the level all the way down, and I have the EQ dead in the middle. You're not really even going to use this very much because it's going to auto EQ. That Driverack is going to auto EQ. And I usually start with gain dead center on any input. So this is just simply going to one mic. So I only have one mic that I'm going to show you how to use this with, and that's really all you. If you had 100 channels, like I said before, if this was going out to your bass, if this was going out to your kick drum, if this was going from your guitar, your line ends, it doesn't matter. You can have as many or as little as one. I'm also going to be playing this iPod through this RCA just to help you see how it gets mixed in the room. So I'll show you the back of the Driverack and show you how to make the connections. Okay, again, so that you understand what I'm doing here. This is nothing, this power conditioner on top, it's nothing more than a power supply. So I have the DBX going out through this cable straight into this power conditioner. You could plug this straight into your jumper and go straight into your wall, because it doesn't have to have this conditioner. And then I have my mixing board also in this conditioner, so it just makes it easy because it's almost like a power strip. But anyways, so what I have up here is I have, this is upside down, but this says the mains out. It's a 1/4 inch left. This one's the left 1/4 inch. So that is coming down, and I have that wound up, and then I'm going to put the light on it, but it is going into, there's 4 inputs you're going to worry about in the back of this drive rack, and the inputs are over here, which I'm on right now. You can see this says inputs. It might be too much light. Inputs, there we go. And then, so that one's from the left main out into the left or mono in. Okay, and on the right side is the other one. So the right main out up top is going into the right in. Now, there's also a button here for ground or the ground lifted. You usually want ground to be in effect. You usually don't want to lift it unless you have some type of dirty electricity coming out of the wall that's not grounded well. And you can just tell. And over here, next to it, there's a button for +4 dBu or -10 dB. So I keep it pressed in for +4. All right, so then what you're going to have is outputs. You're going to have 2 outputs that are for mains. So these 2 right here, I know this light's terrible, I'm trying to do a little bit better. So those 2 right there are 2 outputs for mains, and these 2 are 2 outputs for subs. It's simple as cake. You want to see underneath it says left mono on both sides, left mono, even left mono on the inputs. So the left side on the back is always left. Realize that you're looking at that from a reverse angle from where you're looking. So for example, remember that left is on this side. So from the front of this is actually the left. So those lefts will come into, it's going to be on this side of the 2. It's going to be this one from the back. This is the left going out to that. It's pretty simple though if you just kind of like pay attention to what you're doing. What I advise you to do on the back of your powered speakers, this is going to be just a matter of preference. I'm going to tell you what I do and what I suggest you do. Obviously your speakers have already been paired with a power supply that's adequate for them. So what I like to do is, these subs are 1400 watts and my mains are like 400 or 600 watts, it's something like that. So it's a little bit offset. So what I do is I turn the mains up to a 75% master gain, and I turn the subs up to a 50% master gain, so that it seems a little more balanced as far as the sound goes. So I'll come to the back of both of them and show you exactly what I'm talking about. All right, so every one of them will be different. I mean, every powered speaker is different, and they're similar. So what I have is this is the line, and this is again left main, because this is the left side of my room coming into this. And I don't like to put it on input 1. I like to put it on the +4 dB line in, whichever one you have that is set to +4 dB, or if it just says line in, that's where I'm putting this. And then I have the gain for that channel is set to straight up. I always put it at 50% or unity or whatever you want to call it. It's not too little, it's not too much. And then I have this gain. This gain has nothing to do with it because it's nothing plugged into this channel up here, but I still have it at 50%. And then I have the equalizer, which does mess with this, at 50% for both high and low. And you don't need to worry about that because actually the drive rack is going to set that. So you want it to be 50%, just like I have it on the mixer channel for the microphone is 50%. So this is the master volume, and it is going to be, for this, I'm actually going to turn it up to 75% because those subs are a lot more powerful than this is. So I'm kind of using that as a gauged. If this was a 1000 watt main, I probably would run it at 50% too, but it's only, I think, a 400 or 500 or 600 watt main. I know I should know what they are, and I do, I just keep forgetting. All right, so that is the main. I'll show you the sub. Okay, so essentially what I have is this line in, and it's going just straight into the input, okay? So whatever your input is, you plug your line in. This is left sub into the input, and then I have my levels set so that the frequency boost is right in the middle. I'm actually not even going to turn it on, and if you have one, you may not have one. And then there's a high cut gain because this sub has a crossover in it, and I usually have it cut and high off as low as it possibly can so that it's handling all the lows and the highs go straight to the. It's not going to matter though. I mean, the crossover is actually in the drive rack because I have that. I don't have a line coming out from the sub up there, so it doesn't make a lot of difference. But I have my level, as you can see, set to 50% straight up, and if you have a phase switch, just keep both of them on normal. And because again, this is all set by the driver. The drive rack's a lot smarter than all this equipment. So I'm running this at 50% and my top's at 75%. Okay, you're also going to have a condenser, an RTA mic, and you can get those online. I believe I bought this one off Amazon, a Behringer. I think it was a Behringer. Yeah, it is a Behringer for like $60, but you have to have one. You cannot use a regular mic. They will not read the sound correctly. So you have to have one of these, and I have that line is plugged straight into the front of the drive rack. It's in the spot over here that's labeled RTA mic input. When you press this in, it engages it. When you press it again, it disengages it. So start off, I haven't even powered anything on yet, by the way. So this is disengaged. What you want to do is make sure that all of these connections are completely in place before you power anything on. I have nothing powered on at this point. So what I'm going to do next is power everything on, and I just want to summarize again what's going on. So everything is connected. The mains on the mixer are all the way down. This is the main output, is all the way at 0. The channel, the only channel I'm using, is at all the way down, and the gain on it is at about at 50%. And my input from my iPod is not going out to the mix, is off, and that's not playing any music yet anyways. And I'm going to say something about gain real quick. So when I get to the section on automatic feedback suppression, which is the third step of your wizards within the drive rack, it was very confusing for me to understand what they wanted you to do. And I even contacted DBX themselves to try to get clarification. It's not easy to understand. So I figured it out finally, and I'm going to tell you what I suggest you do to make your feedback set for clipping and for feedback in the room, how to make it work more effectively, especially when you have dynamics of 5 or 6 mics that are going on, mic in, you know, your bass amp, your guitar amp, 2 singers, maybe 3 singers, your kick drum, and maybe even the whole set of drums. So I mean, you can do any and all of that. Your mixer handles all that, but your gains, you got tons of gains then to worry about. So I'll tell you exactly what I recommend that you do when we get to the automatic feedback part of it. So everything is in place. I'm going to power the system on. There's no power supply on this. When you plug it in, it just starts running. So when I power this unit on, it'll turn on. But all you would have to do is plug this into the wall and it'll turn on. So I have the RTA mic is in place, and then I have my normal microphone in place on my mixer too, and I have my iPod in place ready to go. It's all turned down. I'm powering this on. Okay? So you're going to see this come up. I don't know if you can see that. That's kind of hard for you to see. I can see it. Essentially, what it's showing me is the last known configuration that it had whenever I set it up. So, there we go. You'll want to have everything in place. All of your mics in place, all of the levels turned down, and then you'll want to turn on your mixer. So I turn the drive rack on first, and then the mixer on second, and make sure the mixer's main, again, it's very important, the mixer's main all the way down to 0. Because the last thing you're going to power up is your powered speakers, and you don't want any signal going through that'll pop them or make them, you know, it'll damage them, or it'll be so loud and a lot of feedback and bust everybody's eardrums out. So the mixer comes on next, and then the powered speakers. Mixer's main is down, I'm positive. Mixer is on. Couldn't hear it anyways, the speakers are off. Each speaker gets powered on now. I like to power the subs on first. Doesn't matter because they're all coming. There's 4 outputs coming out of the drive rack. So these aren't connected in any way, shape, or form except for by the drive rack. So what I recommend you do is a rough mix of the whole band of every input. So I want you to go ahead and kind of figure out where you think feedback gain is going to be per channel. So that means I'm going to go ahead and turn the music on. I'm going to turn the mixer on because it's going to put sound out immediately. And it's not going to have, you know, the drive rack's not ran yet. It's going to go ahead and put sound out. I'll do that and then I'll test feedback where it's at. So I'm going to get just a rough idea of where levels are before I've run the wizard at all, okay? So I have the level of the one channel, the mic channel, is at 50%, just straight up and down. It's easy to remember if you do it that way. Sometimes that's unity and sometimes it's not. It doesn't matter. I just put it at 50%. And the main mix is all the way down. So I'm going to pull up the mains just slowly. And I've got my gain set about to where I can get a signal and it can start to try to peak out. Because you get that whether you have the main mix up or not, whether you can hear it or not. I can see if this peaks. And it's right at peaking actually. So I can back the gain off just a tad. And check, 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 pop, 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 pop. You can actually get your level without any sound at all. It hears that level anyways. So I'm going to put it through and it's just under breaking. Again, for each single one of these. I'm not trying to make this to be about a mixing, but you need to know the basics of that. That's how you set gains. You got to get it to where it actually gets the signal and it's not clipping already before you start any of it. So, check, 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 check. I'm slowly bringing up the mixer, the main mix, and I'm getting it up 50%, and it is straight up 50%. That's not very loud in here because I haven't EQ'd it for the certain level of loudness that I'm going to have the venue, but this is loud enough to give you an example of where you'd want it, and I've not ran the wizards yet, so you want every one of your inputs to be kind of at you might have a sound check, like the band sound check before you even plug into the PX, and you'll know where the levels need to be. All right, and I can even run, let me run this iPod and give you a good example of what's going on. I'd have it on random, just some random mix. All right, some 5-finger death punch. So I'm going to pull the mix up to about my voice level. And I'm doing that on the iPod. The mix doesn't have input levels for that. So it's just strictly off of my volume of my iPod. Check, 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 check. So that's about as loud as I want to get in my house because my neighbors will hear all this. All right, so you've got your basic mix. You've done a sound check. So I know where everything's at this point, and now I can run the wizards. All right, I know this is kind of hard to see, and I apologize for that. I don't have great recording equipment. I'm just using an iPhone. But this is the most important part, so you really need to pay attention to this. So you've got your everything set up and connected. All your powered speakers are on, and you have your RTA plugged in, and you have your wizard ready to start. So it doesn't matter what this shows over here. No matter what this shows, you just go to the setup button and you hold it down until you see that system setup wizard. It says press next page, which is the top. There's a left, there's right arrow. Next page is blinking, so I press it. So it asks, it says stereo or mono, and that means how many mains do you have, 1 or 2? So I have 2, so you can choose mono if you only have 1, and I'm going to choose stereo, and I'm going to press the next button again, and it asks which one. It never has, this is an older unit, like I think it was 2008 this was made, so it never has the speakers that I have. It doesn't matter if it does or not. If it does, if you can find it in this list scrolling through, then that's great, but it never does for me. So I'm going to go all the way down to, it says custom, and it's like the last thing, and you can see that it shows 2 speakers, so it knows stereo. That's what 2 means. Stereo means is 2, and I'm going to press for custom. You don't press this, actually, that's wrong. You press next. Yeah. And now it's asking for subs. If you didn't have subs, you would press next again for none, but I do. I have 2 subs. You can have 1 sub. So I'm going to go all the way down to custom. There's custom mono, which is just 1, and there's custom stereo 2. So it's already set for custom stereo. It shows the picture of the 2. I'm going to press the next page. Now, it's telling you to set your mains, because it doesn't know what these speakers are. It just knows it didn't want you to blow them. It's telling you to set them at 50%. I know that my mains aren't as strong as my subs, so for a good mix, I have mine at 75. Now, you can either physically go to your mains and turn them to 50% like it's saying, or you can spin this and put it to the same position that they are on your mains, which mine are at 75%. So I'm going to do that for the main speaker levels. And I don't care what this percentage says. It's straight across. I just do it exactly the way that it shows. I'm going to press the next page button again. And now it's talking about subs. And it assumes you're doing them both the same way, because you'd be stupid to turn one up louder than the other. And my subs, it says to put them at 50%, and I am going to do them at 50%. So I'm going to hit the next page button again. And now it says press, this is the select button. It says press select to load. So I'm going to press that, and it says loading, and it's in there. It knows that I have 4 speakers, 2 mains, 2 subs, and it knows what their levels are at. Okay, that's the step that we're at right now. Now it says the auto level, and this is your EQ actually. So this is going to measure. I'm sorry, not EQ. It's level. It's left, right, top, bottom. This is exactly what it's going to measure. So you need your mic, your RTA mic input plugged in, and I'm going to press that RTA button. I'm going to show you that real quick. I have that plugged in, and I'm going to get in here and press this button. And when I do that, as you'll notice, it says turn up the pink level. Now, before I turn up the pink level, I'm going to set that mic on a stand in the center. Okay? So I'll show you that real quick. For the placement of your RTA mic, you literally want to think of an equilateral triangle. Okay? So I only have these things right next to each other. What is this? 4 feet? So this might be 4 feet. And so I'm going to put this mic, is triangulated about where a perfect triangle would be between all 3 of them. Okay, so at the club or wherever your venue, you're going to want to put this in a triangulation point between where the tip would be. So this is the base of your triangle, and there's the tip. That's where you want it to be, because it's going to be level, it's going to be measuring left, right, and top, bottom sounds. So you want it to be right there. All right, so this is the most important thing to show you what's happening on the front of the screen. I'm going to turn this pink. I'm going to turn this up, and this knob acts like a volume knob, and it'll put pink noise out through the room that this DBX is going to balance. Alright, it's done. Now you see that it's saying press the RTA button to release it. I'm going to go ahead and press that. And now it says they're balanced and they're loaded. And I want you to realize too that what it had me do was it had me turn the pink noise up to what would be the stage, the performance level. Now I'm in my mobile home and I've got neighbors, so I'm not trying to turn it up as loud as it could have gotten. So I got it up to about 1 dB, somewhere right around there, but it's pretty loud for my living room. You could have gone louder, because it'll only push the your subs and your mains as loud as they can go, and it's going to be safe. It's not going to let them get overpowered. So set it to the level that your performance will be, roughly based on that pink noise, before you hit your next page where it starts to EQ, which is what I did. I didn't explain it well, but I didn't think you'd hear me while it was running anyways. So now I'm going to do the next wizard, which is going to be, and you'll see it, is the auto EQ. It's going to auto EQ the room. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit. For some reason, if you put your RTA mic closer to one or the other, the left or the right, it'll read this level faster for you. So I'm actually going to put the mic, I'll show you where I'm going to put it. All right guys, I'm actually going to put that mic about this close, and even if I'm in the venue, it'll probably be similar to this close to the left or the right side, it doesn't matter. It'll just hear those frequencies better. They're balanced anyways already, so they're going to put out the same frequency on both sides. It's going to balance your frequencies to the EQ level that you prefer. And what you choose, you've got 4 modes to choose from in here, and I'll show you exactly what I mean about what you prefer. All right, so it is at the Auto EQ wizard, which I'm going to press this next page again. And it's saying to connect the RTA mic. All I have to do is press this and it will engage it again. And you can see that the screen has changed. Now what it's asking for is what level of EQ you prefer. If you see what's going on, it's flat. It has a 0 response right now. I don't recommend that. So I'm turning it over 1 notch, and now it's at A, where you have a little bit of lows, a little bit of highs, kind of right in the middle. In response B, you have a curve that starts off a little more sub and dips down the middles and then comes up a little bit on the end for your highs. And then C seems to be a popular choice because if you have cymbals or a lot of things that might feed back a little bit, it pulls the highs just down a little bit and your subs sound a little bit louder. But I'm actually going to go with D, which is a little bit higher mains, just because in here I want you to hear some feedback so that I'll show you how it cuts feedback out. So I'm going to choose response D. In the venue, you might want to choose C, honestly. I think it's a better option. There is a precision, which means how precise. You can go in here and granularly kind of modify those 4 settings, but I don't mess with them. If you want to, be my guest. I don't want to screw with shit that I don't understand that well. So I'm going to hit the next page button. And now it's doing the same thing, and wants the pink noise up, and it'll start EQing, and you'll see how that works exactly through this meter. So I'm going to turn it up to a pretty good volume that I don't know if it'll translate to this phone as well, but then I'll hit next page when I'm set to stage volume, and you'll see it EQ that out. It says not done. That means it got it as close as it could possibly match it, and that's actually okay. It's still pretty close to where I want it, and that happens sometimes. Actually, I've seen it take 5 minutes. When I was doing my first time, it took me like 5 minutes, but it does better to get it closer like I did. I'm going to press this to release it and quit this wizard, and now it's going to go and want to start the automatic feedback suppression wizard. Before I do that, I'm going to explain something. So yeah, at my first time to use this at a gig, I didn't put that microphone closer to one specific side like I just showed you. It was way back, triangulated the way I had it in position the first time to test levels, and you want it triangulated perfectly for that. But for the EQ, you want it to be close to one side so that it'll go a little faster, but it took like 10 minutes. Like it sat there, and there were patrons in the bar drinking a little bit, and it was like that, you know, the highs and all that. It'll go in a minute or two like it just did, and I've actually had it go in like 30 seconds if you get it a little closer and actually a little lower to the ground. I've seen some tutorial where it says to actually lay it on the ground, and maybe that's true. I haven't done that yet, but maybe laying it on the carpet or the ground or whatever will work even better. But just get a little closer, maybe 10 feet out, maybe 7 feet out, but not 30 feet out, even if your venue is that spread apart, because it'll take a hell of a long time. And they were looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? This is making a lot of noise. So do that. I'm gonna get it set up for the automatic feedback tutorial to show you exactly how that's gonna work. So again, I just want you to see what's going on. I've got one mic right here, and it's going to be into this channel. And as you see, my gain is set to about, I don't know, 70%. Just because, you know, my mic, I don't have a good mic, and it needs a little more gain. And then I have my EQ flat. I have a high pass filter on, which lets highs come through. It filters out lows. Because if you have vocals or a guitar, you don't need lows below 75 hertz to come through. So I would recommend all your vocals be a high pass filter. And most of this is for vocals. So my EQ is flat. My auxiliary, which is monitor, is all the way down. My post, which means it's special effects on this mixer, is all the way down. My pan for left and right is dead in the middle, and my level is down. Now I'm going to put my level. I always take the levels and set those all pretty flat, because that's where you're going to want. If I had another input, a guitar input, I'd have them all flat, set straight up. So they're all down so they won't screw with this, and my master level's down too. So I've got that in position. Okay guys, a quick little tutorial about gain. Gain on your mixing board is nothing more than strengthening or weakening that signal so that it is manageable by your mixing board. Okay, so microphones have, some of them are hot and some are not, and some are designed for musical instruments and some are designed for voices. So, and I'm not going to go into a big, huge thing and ramble about that, but pretty much gain is consistent with each mic. So if I'm using this one mic, which this is like an EV basic, and the gain is almost always needing to be at about 60% for that mic. If I used an SM58 or a Sennheiser or something different, they might be stronger at capturing voice, and I would have to gain down a little bit. But you set that at the front and it's almost always going to be at that same level, because those mics are pretty consistent about how much of your voice or how much of that noise they pick up. And the closer and the further you get from your mic affects that level that's coming into the mixer, so you want to be consistent. So for this tutorial, I'm using that mic, and it's always, I usually always set it on my channel at 60% gain. And I've got it already set on my stand kind of next to me back here so that it can capture some feedback, because it's kind of in front of the speakers. It's going to have feedback. So I want you to show how the filters work, though. That's the main thing, is to show you how the filters work with this DBX. Okay, so I have everything in place. I'm going to press the next page button to get this AFS wizard started. Now it says please turn down the mixer gain. That means your whole master volume. So my master volume is all the way down, and the channel for that microphone that I'm fixing to set the limiters for is in 50%, as I showed you. So the gain on that channel is at 60%. The channel itself, the level is at 50%, so that I have a little bit of leeway to pull it down or to turn it up. And the whole mixing board's level is all the way down. So I just want you to realize that's what it means by turn down the mixer gain. It just means your whole mixer's overall level, because the gains are individually set per channel, and I have the mixer all the way down. So I have that set. I'm going to go ahead and press the next page button. It asks for how many filters you want. This means that it'll pick these frequencies while you're setting this wizard, and it'll filter specifically at that frequency and notch it out. And you can set, it's got 12 slots. You can set 12 if you want, but I think that 6 and 6 is a good round number. And the reason is because 6 will be fixed, that's what the F means, and 6 will be live, that's what the L means. So when you're in the middle of your live music, it'll have 6 filters that'll catch frequencies that are trying to feedback, and it'll nip those in the bud. And what happens when your 6 fills up, it goes round robin. It'll eliminate number 1, and then it'll eliminate number 2, so it constantly will have enough spots for you. I like to go 6 and 6, but you do whatever you want to do. So I'm going to press the next page button to get that cemented. Now, this is where it's asking, how good of a filter do you want? Do you want extremely good filters, or do you want it to be kind of low, sluggish, lazy filters? I go with medium, because medium seems to work well. Music high is a narrow notch, which means your music integrity is really, really, really good. You can hardly ever tell there's anything been clipped. And medium is narrow. It runs a little faster. It gives you a little leeway. And it's even telling you music low is a narrow notch. And then you have it where you can set it for just speech. I don't know why you would buy this though for just speech. So like, I'm going with music medium. Choose whichever one you want to go with. And I'm pressing the next page button. Now, it says to increase the gain to listen for the filters. So what's going to happen is my microphone is sitting here hot at 50% and at 60% gain of itself. And I'm going to slowly turn this mixer up until the frequencies get caught. And you'll see it. I mean, real slowly, by the way. Here we go. Two down. I'm increasing the level. Okay. All 6 of them have been caught. I increased the level. I actually got up to about 75% of my overall loudness. Like I'm 75% of the whole mixing. And if I talk up here through this, if I tap that mic, I mean, it's live. It's going. See, that's a live filter actually caught it. So I'm going to back that main down to 50%, maybe even 60. And this will be my performance level. I can perform at this 50% with my live music, and it's going to already be ready to go and catch feedback. And you'll virtually hear no feedback during your show. So once you've got that in place and it's ready, it says it's in live mode, which means it knows what's going on. It's ready to do its job. So I'm going to press the next page button. And there it is. So it is running right now. It is actually show ready. This doesn't do anything. If you turn this, that's no volume. It doesn't have anything to do with it now. It just helps you whenever you're going through your selections. So it's ready to go. I'm going to set it back and add the mix and show you that. All right, so at this point, all of your mics are hot. I have it at 50%. I'm going to go ahead and just put this into position here. You can tell that it's hot. It's definitely loud enough. And this level, by the way, this level has been, you can see your gauges on the front. Maybe I'll get a shot of that in a minute. But the front of your DBX has inputs and it has outputs level. So it lets you know if you're clipping or if you're close to clipping. The front of the DBX will actually say clip if you clip. But if it goes right now, the loudness of this is based on what I did whenever I did the white noise. So when it says to set to performance level, you want to make sure that it actually is at performance level. And a rule of thumb that I would suggest now that I've used it a little bit is when you think you're at performance level, set it a little bit higher than that. Go maybe 1 or 2 dBs actually louder than that. So I can turn this up, you know what I mean? Like it's getting a little bit loud. It's pretty clear. I mean, it is super, super loud. At this point, I'd be in the venue, and it's really, really pushing through. And right now, you can't tell, but it's quite loud in here. You hear the pop, 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 pop. And it's not even clipping at all. This is maxed out, and I don't have any feedback going on. So I'm going to actually back that down to 50%, and I'm going to include the iPod mix. Let's get that playing. Check. So, sound is coming through the mains, which I'm right in front of, by the way. So it's coming through, and I'm not feeding back. It already knows the frequencies that tend to feed back, and it's suppressing those. It clipped those out with the fixed filters, and I mean, I had performance-free nights with this. I love this thing. It works great. It is pretty much as loud as you want to get it. The whole mix overall. It's jamming. So, I'm going to catch a quick shot of the front, show you what the levels look like so you can see that you're nice and clean. And that's, in essence, how you set this up. I think I'll go ahead and show you how you can save this too, so that it's always, if you go back to a venue over and over and over, instead of always run this wizard, you can just have it recall that exactly. So let me show you that. Okay, so as you can see, right now it says custom with sub. And I can change that name so that I'll just change it to living room, because it's pretty much set at the level that I would use if I was in here all the time. So what you can do is you can hit the store button, and now it changes. It gives you a name, custom with sub,
if you press this, this cycles through uppercase, lowercase, and then number, and then blank. So uppercase, I'm going to put home, H, and then next page button. Don't press this again, it goes to lower. And it's already lower, so H, roll it back to O, roll it back to M, and roll this back to E. And I'm just going to stop it at that. So I'm going to go to the next, and now I want blanks. So blank, next, blank, next, blank, next, blank. You get the idea. All right, and if I pressed store, it'll go to where do I want to save this slot. Now, it says replace in U2 home. I'm actually going to leave it like that because I had one called home in that user spot number 2, and I'm going to override it. So I'm going to go ahead and press store, and it'll override it. I could dial this up to 3, 4. These are presets, I think, by the person that I bought it from. I don't know if you can see this. I might have even. Okay. So I'm going to go back down to U2. By the way, yeah, my iPhone comes in and out. Let's get that right around here. That U2 home is what I'm going to override. But this user spot, red arrow, that was the venue that we're at that I saved settings for. So I can go dial them straight back up again. So I'm going to press store. And it stores that preset to U2 home. I can dial that up. I don't have to run those wizards anymore. I just have to connect it exactly the way I did. And I need to have the mixer set to pretty much exactly the way it was set, and it'll be good. Now, again, I wanted to show you the levels here. So here's the levels that you always see during your live performance. So if I come in with I'm going to just pop this mic and try to cause it to clip. See, that in the middle is your outputs, and this one's your outputs, and these are your inputs, and these are your subs. So the subs are not, they're coasting. You can see that. They're barely using any power. But it's pushing the outputs pretty good. And the inputs, especially if I hit this. But there's no amount of singing that can make it do that. It's like check, 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 check. So it's like I'm really, really, really going into it to get it up to clip. But mainly it's staying at like 30%. You know what I mean? So I'm really, really good. And even if I push it, your overall level, I'm going to increase the mains. Even pushing the mains like this is really not impacting that signal. It's not getting louder and louder and louder like that. It's not going to clip me. If I did clip, by the way, it'll show clip right there on that screen. Right here, it'll say clip. Let me see if I can get it to clip. There it is. You can see it. You can see the little clip jump up. That's how it works. It protects everything, and it keeps it all.
So I hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Again, it took me 100 times of playing with this thing to figure all that out. I hope that that's helpful because I needed all this info, and I felt like it was pulling teeth. I looked through the manual. I emailed the manufacturer, and it was just tough to get this down. And now I've got it down pretty good. I can go up to a venue, plug all this in, set it up, and within 15 minutes have the room EQ'd, have the level set, and know that I'm not going to have feedback, and know that my units will be protected. So the Driverack DBX. They have the DBA too, which is for passive systems that have, you have amplifiers that then go to your speakers. But if you use that, that's great. Buy the system for that. But I recommend it highly. It's a great investment, and I don't want to blow my equipment. So hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Have a great day.